Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We got a 8-foot white pine log here on the deck today. It's 14 inches in diameter. It's not a huge log, but it's big enough to saw. It's got a partial sweep in it and a crack defect on the end. So we'll see what happens when we open this up, but there's a good chance that this log's got a lot more defects on the inside than it does on the outside. Um, You'll have that in pine. You won't be able to see where all your defects are until you take the first couple cuts, and then you'll start to notice that something doesn't look right. So like on this one, I've already noticed that there is a huge crack down the center of the board that I'm cutting already. Right here you'll see when I slide it off, there's a giant crack in the end of this board. So what that tells me already is that this tree, when it hit the ground, it shattered, and either it was hidden inside the tree, so whoever cut it didn't notice that the tree had a crack in it, but it was cracked, or the other option was it was completely snapped off 2 or 3 feet above, and they cut it off thinking that would clean it up just by taking what they saw was cracked off. But when a tree hits the ground and cracks up further, it actually leaves a lot of damage further up into the log. The good rule of thumb is to always cut off more than you can see. You don't have to go crazy, but 3 to 5 feet is pretty typical. But I'll just let you guys watch me saw this up. I have more of a breakdown further in the video of how I decided what to do with this log. All these boards are 1.5 inches. That's the best use of this tree, and you get the most yield with at least somewhat quality lumber. Each board's going to only be 6 foot, so you wouldn't want to make this into 1 inch with how many knots are in it to begin with, and then you have all those little stress cracks. Those can be throughout every single board, and then all your 1 inch boards would be junk. So you can hide some of those cracks inside the 2x6s or 2x8s, which I'm cutting here. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and follow me for more timber cutting breakdowns and why I'm doing certain cuts. I can even do breakdowns of forest management and things I do on my own property, but typically I buy almost everything that I saw. If I cut as much as I had in my woods, there wouldn't be much of a woods left after a couple of years. So I typically buy everything locally. I buy most of it from a couple loggers I know, and then the rest of it is people ask me to buy their logs from trees they cut down on their own property, or I buy them from a couple tree services when they're doing lot clearing and other things. I typically don't want to buy 1 or 2 trees from a yard unless it's walnut or hickory or cherry, because almost every single tree that I saw in a yard, they say it doesn't have metal, and it always does, so I try to stay away from it. But pretty soon here I'll do a breakdown of the cracks in this log. So if you want to keep watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I want to see you in the next one. So I just want to explain something for anyone cutting logs, or if they're new to bringing logs to a sawmill. I want to show you what I don't want to see in a log when you bring it. This log, when it hit the ground, it snapped somewhere up here, and it broke right in half. So the person thought just because it broke up there, it's good to cut it back 2 feet and then the log's good. Well, typically wherever it breaks, so if it broke here, usually it's 3 to 5 feet from where that broke, the crack will go. So it just keeps going through the tree, and then this is where it comes out. This is all junk lumber. There's nothing in here that you can salvage on the first half of this log. I mean, up to everything from here back is fine, but up to here, this last 2.5 feet of this log, 3 feet of it is completely garbage. There's nothing you can salvage out of it. It's just gonna fall apart. So when you're cutting logs to length, if you know it hit the ground or it broke or it snapped off in a windstorm, up here, cut it back about 5 feet from where that crack happened, and that's where you start your log. Otherwise, you're gonna have a ton of boards with a ton of cracks. So like this one, it is broken all the way to a limb. So typically that happens all the time. So the grain direction changes in the boards, right where a limb is. So there was no big limbs up further in the tree, and then when it hit the ground, it finds the weak point, which is where a big limb was. That was a lot of different growth changes, and that's where it snaps. So this was the log before, same issue. These two must have been right where the one was above the other one, and then they cut off where it broke. So you can see in all these boards, right here, up to here, and then down this way, and right there, there's cracks in the boards. This one cracked the whole center right out, and then it still cracks back further. So these are only 6-foot boards instead of 8-foot. So just to help you guys, if you're out cutting trees and you want to know if you can saw a log or not, if it's snapped, you can just cut it back about 3.5 feet first, and if you see any little lines or cracks still in the end of the log, they're hard to see, but you gotta look real close. Like for example, this one here, these are little cracks still, so you could have cut back further yet, cut a couple chunks of firewood off, and then you'll know if it's a good log or not. So hope that helps you guys when you're cutting them to length. I just wanted to share that because then you're not wasting your time bringing them to a mill and then they're defected anyways. It's okay if it's a high valued tree, you know, like walnut or something, or something that's a family tree. But if it's just cheap pine or popple or something like that, just remember to cut it back further so you have a lot better lumber.